If you compare beer with bratwurst,
and cheese with wine,
or even whiskey
with donuts,
then we think you can pair all of these delicious drinks with
murder,
conspiracies,
missing persons,
and more.
Drink with us as you feed your craving for true crime and creepy stories.
And we are rolling. This is Perfectly Paired With, a podcast where my beautiful wife over here, Katie, tells me a story of true crime. And I bring a drink for us to enjoy while she tells that, and we pair that drink with the story. Thus the name, Perfectly Paired With. So we are continuing to a part 3 of our Chris Watts story. This will be the final installment of this series, and we hope you enjoy. If you haven't listened to 1 or 2, go back and listen to those. And if you don't, then I don't care. Do what you want. All right, Katie, you want to give us something brief here?
Now, we covered the Watts family annihilation in the previous 2 episodes and did so in a way to try and explain why such a horrific event could have happened seemingly out of nowhere. In those episodes, I presented the idea that the marriage between Shanann, an overt narcissist, and Christopher, a covert narcissist, was bound to end. If not in the tragedy that occurred, then it would end badly in one way or another. But there is another individual who needs to be addressed if we want a complete picture as to why Chris Watts strangled his pregnant wife, Shanann, and smothered his 2 daughters. This person is Nicole Kessinger, and when her actions are actually examined and fully considered, I think it is safe to say that she, a malignant narcissist, is the missing piece to the puzzle that is this real-life horror story.
Very interesting. Now this, I've never heard any information on, other than what you gave us a little teaser of at the end of last episode. So I'm very, very interested with what you've got for us there. Now, for this pairing, I decided to not go so much with the story, but more on the timing of us recording this, because this is one of our favorite holidays. If you call it that, it's kind of a weird holiday, but I suppose it is.
Yeah, it's absolutely one of our favorite holidays.
Yeah. It's just, I find it hard to call it a holiday because we don't get like work off or even school off or anything like that. But yeah, no, we love this time of the year. We love Halloween.
And this episode should be released on Halloween.
Yeah, it will be. So, naturally, pumpkin spice anything matches the season. Pumpkins, yeah. So what better pumpkin flavored item to go with than whiskey?
I can't even imagine what pumpkin flavored whiskey tastes like. Like I literally cannot fathom.
Yeah, I could see it. I could see it working, but maybe it doesn't because I don't see it very often.
Let's give it a taste. We don't have to wonder any longer. Pour the Bev.
We don't. So we're going to do, I literally saw an ad for this this morning. I was like, whoa, pumpkin spice flavored whiskey. Okay. And it's from Bird Dog, which, everybody's got their own opinions on it. It's cheaper whiskey.
Fabulous.
I've got us backup drinks just in case this is awful.
No, that's not how we do
won't
things.
even introduce those, but just in case we can't bear it.
Perfectly Paired With. We shall drink what you pour.
Yeah. Bird Dog pumpkin spice flavored whiskey.
Oh, nice.
And it's got as Bird Dog always does, a black lab on the front.
Oh, so it's a dog that hunts birds.
Yeah.
It isn't like a mythological bird dog. That is what I pictured every time you said Bird Dog. I was like, oh, that's cool.
Bird Dog.
No.
Cat Dog's cousin.
It's a dog that hunts birds, people.
Do you remember that show, Cat Dog?
Yeah, I do. It was a cartoon, so I didn't actually watch it, but I do know what you're referencing.
Can smell.
It smells like pumpkin. Oh my goodness. It smells like a pumpkin spice latte from Starbucks. I'm not even hitting you.
Fall aromas
Holy
up in
smokes.
this room now. Wow.
If this doesn't taste the way it smells, I'm going to be extremely disappointed.
It smells like pumpkin spice with straight alcohol.
I don't even smell alcohol.
Oh,
That's
no?
crazy.
I definitely got some rubbing alcohol.
Oh, I don't know. Oh, dear. It tastes like it smells.
It's very sweet.
And that's what I
Holy
think
cow.
I'm not going to like is how sweet it is.
Oh, I could enjoy a couple of these, that's for sure, but that sweetness is gonna get on top.
Here's
but that's I don't
what
know,
it needs
like a
to be
pumpkin
poured
pie
into
almost. Ooh,
eggnog.
Oh yeah,
That
Ooh.
would be delicious. I know we're skipping ahead several holidays.
We should buy.
However, we should buy some and save it for eggnog.
Christmas. Yeah, that's
no.
great.
It tastes like It tastes like a pumpkin spice latte. Like the bourbon almost gives it like that. Not just pumpkin spice. It's got a little extra.
I'm impressed.
It's uncanny.
I'm impressed. This was on sale for $10.
Oh, let's see how our heads
That's why
feel tomorrow.
I was a little worried, but yeah, no, they did good. Yeah,
It's pretty sweet, but it tastes like pumpkin spice.
If you enjoy pumpkin flavored items,
give it a go.
Even if you don't like whiskey, I'd say if you see a Bird Dog pumpkin spice flavored whiskey, grab it. You'll like it.
Well, a surprisingly delicious pumpkin flavored whiskey is perfectly paired with a surprising take on a very familiar true crime story that will air on Halloween, which is the holiday dedicated to all things pumpkin. Now, a malignant narcissist is extremely manipulative in order to get what they want. These individuals also get a sense of satisfaction from causing harm to other people. Nicole Kessinger's actions, by the way, which were never fully investigated by the Frederick Police Department, CBI, or FBI, do not show a person who simply had a 6-week affair with a man whom she believed to be separated from his wife, which is what she tried to present to the world. Instead, her actions portray a woman who targeted Chris and Shanann, a couple whom she knew to be married. Then, using emotional manipulation, she pursued Chris until he was convinced that he was in love with Nikki and that he needed to be with her if he were ever to be happy. And potentially, there is some evidence which suggests, perhaps, that Nikki could have been instrumental in Chris not only deciding that he had to murder his entire family, but perhaps who actually was instrumental in the crimes themselves. Nicole Kessinger, known as Nikki, was a geologist with degrees from the Community College of Aurora and Colorado State University, which we just take that degree away, I think. I'm not officially able to do that, but she doesn't need to be around me anymore. Nikki was working as a contract worker with Anadarko, the same oil company where Chris worked. During her interviews with investigators, after Shanann and the girls went missing, Nikki told officers that she had only really met Chris in May or June of 2018. And at the time of their meeting, she had no idea that he was even married. I'm going to play her describing this interaction.
I think I met him sometime in June, probably early June, might have been May. I was just talking at work. It was pretty casual. And he didn't have a wedding ring on his finger. And every time I talked to him, he didn't tell me that he was in a relationship. He didn't even mention his kids right away either. And then one day he told me that he had 2 kids. I was like, that's pretty cool. And so tell me about his kids.
That sounded like a sarcastic comment.
No, I thought it was kind of cute. I was like, oh, he's a dad. It was like right around Father's Day too.
So again, in that interview, she's making it clear that she barely had met Chris the beginning of summertime 2018. And when she met him, she didn't know he was married and she didn't know that he had 2 kids.
Yeah, it's was this before he's charged?
It
or after?
is. So she actually decides to preemptively go and tell investigators that she was having a relationship with the Chris Watts whose wife and daughters were missing.
Oh. Huh. It's a weird... The demeanor's a bit weird there in it. It's like just the automatic to... I didn't know he was in a relationship. I didn't know he had kids, but then I found out he had kids. Also, we didn't listen to the whole interview, so maybe it's brought up later, but I would think that'd be followed with, I found out he told me he had kids. I thought it was cute, and I found out he had a wife. Like that, the wife part would be right after, but it's not even mentioned. It's glossed over. Yeah, I mean, I know you're going to tell us some stuff
well,
like makes this weird. I guess out of context, I suppose, yeah, it's kind of weird, but it could happen when you just found out somebody you're having an affair with murdered his whole family.
Basically, everything she said in that short clip of her very long interview with investigators would be proven false. Records of Nikki's online searches showed that the first time she ever searched for Shanann Watts was actually done as early as August 2017. And there were other searches for Chris Watts and Shanann Watts, which happened in January 2018, both of which were months and months before she ever told investigators she even knew who Chris was.
It's almost a year before.
Yes.
The search happened.
Yes.
Which if she's searching, she had to have met Chris before that search.
Or seen him.
Yeah, but gotten enough information about him, which tells me that she's at least met him. Maybe they're not love interests yet, but
there was something about him that made her interested enough to look up his wife's name.
Exactly. I'm sure we're going to find out she's a bit of a kook. It takes a kook to just especially if you're not involved with somebody, to investigate their life.
Now, there are mature women who see an attractive man while they're working, who find out a little bit about him, who hear he's married and go, oh, okay, well, I guess that's not my future boyfriend.
Yeah.
And there are other women who see a cute guy, find enough about him to know that he's married and go, what is this bitch like? And she searches her on the internet. Like, that's a completely different breed of human being.
Yeah, they see the ring as just an obstacle, not a...
Or let me look up the competition. Limits. Am I prettier? Am I thinner? Like, am I more successful? Mm-hmm. Like, so many words. Devious and pathetic all at the same time.
Well, Shanann had a lot of stuff for her to look into.
Yes, which I can just imagine her watching hours of driving herself crazy. Now, I'm going to admit that when investigators were questioned about the earliest searches in August, they originally said that the year 2017 was actually a typo. But when the DA's office was pushed, they came out and said that that wasn't a typo at all. And that data was about searches that were performed for Shanann Watts on Nikki's cell phone, which makes me think she was like in her cubicle searching for what this woman looks like.
Oh, yeah.
Because that's what women care about. Am I prettier?
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Now, in fact, Nikki's search data would reveal something else. Nikki was constantly viewing Shanann's Facebook page, which means that the entire time Nikki was with Chris or pursuing Chris, she would have known about his marriage and his children. Shanann posted numerous videos in the weeks just before and during the affair that Nikki and Chris had, and each video showed the same thing. A happy Chris, a happy Shanann, still married, building their family and life. And yet, Nikki continued to pursue this man.
There's something strange about social media, podcasts, different things like that. When you view or listen to or consume enough content from somebody, you almost feel like you know them. And in this circumstance, I can imagine a bit of a feeling that she's like, oh, she knows his wife. She knows the children. She's almost part of the family. Like she's right there.
She could fixate so easily on this individual because of how much Shanann published to the entire world.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Well, what else did this crazy bitch do?
As Chris would describe his relationship with Nikki, he would state that from the moment the couple met, Nikki put him on a leash. And I think she did this in 2 ways. Now, the first way she did this was through sex.
Of course.
Why
not?
When the relationship started, the couple allegedly was having sex 3 to 4 times a day.
Jeez, that's not control. That is consumption. Oh my gosh.
And that was on top of all of the suggestive photos she was sending Chris when they weren't together.
Chris, you dog.
Nikki also seemed to be very open to things that many women would not be. For example, during their affair, Nikki searched up things like, dear Lord, how to prepare for anal.
Hey.
And she did this while watching pornography showcasing a threesome.
Oh.
Another one of her searches was the phrase double penetration.
All right. Well, threesomes.
Anal, double penetration.
And
fits
threesomes
together.
Well, yeah. And threesomes, it all is intertwined there. So you might as well cover all your bases.
Now, there may be...
Also, who's the other man, though?
Oh, if I could say it. I can't even say it.
Was Chris aware of this?
I have no idea, but she specified... I'm not going to say it. I'm going to say it when we turn the cameras off because I can't even say it. Now...
You're worried my parents are going to listen or something?
I'm just worried anybody's going to listen. Now, there may be something to this sex manipulation and what Nikki was trying to accomplish with all the brown chicken, brown cow. Apparently, Nikki had a spiritual advisor who was connected to the Ordo Templis Orientis, which is a secret society connected to Aleister Crowley that practices what is best described as, dun dun dun, sex magic.
Ah, sex magic, which I believe Aleister Crowley, yeah, it's definitely part of his teachings. I don't know what this offshoot is, but I believe they spell magic with a K at the end.
Oh.
But sex magic, yeah, it's very much...
and an eye with a symbol of something else.
Yeah, I think Aleister, like the biggest, or the main point of Aleister Crowley's teachings is pleasure, like human pleasure, and that you should always be pursuing pleasure. And if you're denying yourself pleasure, like that's actually kind of a sin.
Oh.
Yeah. While he's tied to Satan, I think he actually came out and said, no, we're not satanic, but we're all about what Satan wants us to do. He didn't say that, but it's all about human pleasure, not denying it.
Well, Chris himself...
I could be wrong on that. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, which I'm sure you will.
Well, Chris himself even said that Nikki had some friends who were really into some dark stuff. And in his letters to Cheryln Cadle, he uses the following Bible passage to describe his opinion of Nikki.
Who is this?
This is Chris describing Nikki, the temptress.
Chris used a Bible passage
because apparently in prison he found God.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that.
Now this passage comes from Proverbs 7, and it's long. It's 5 through 27, but it reads... To keep you from the forbidden woman, from the adulteress with her smooth words. For at the window of my house I have looked out through my lattice, and I have seen among the simple, I have perceived among the youths, a young man lacking sense, passing along the street near her corner, taking the road to her house, in the twilight, in the evening, at the time of night and darkness. And behold, the woman meets him, dressed as a prostitute, wily of heart. She is loud and wayward. Her feet do not stay at home, nor in the street, now in the market, and at every corner she lies in wait. She seizes him and kisses him, and with bold face she says to him, I had to offer sacrifices, and today I have paid my vows. So now I have come out to meet you, to seek you eagerly, and I have found you. I have spread my couch with coverings, colored linens from Egyptian linen. I have perfumed my bed with myrrh, aloes, and cinnamon. Come, let us take our fill of love till morning. Let us delight ourselves with love. For my husband is not at home. He has gone on a long journey. He took a bag of money with him. At full moon, he will come home. With much seductive speech, she persuades him. With her smooth talk, she compels him. All at once he follows her, as an ox goes to the slaughter, or as a stag is caught fast, till an arrow pierces its liver, as a bird rushes into a snare. He does not know that it will cost him his life. And now, O sons, listen to me, and be attentive to the words of my mouth. Let not your heart turn aside to her ways. Do not stray into her paths. For many a victim has she laid low, and all her slain are a mighty throng. Her house is the way to Sheol, going down to the chambers of death.
Jeez.
Dun, dun, dun.
Do you ever,
sex magic.
Sex magic. You ever hear Bible passages and just be like, yeah, there's that one verse that says nothing's new under the sun. And you hear that and you're like,
Yep.
same shit's happening.
Nicarius Cassangerita of Babylon was doing it 2,000 years ago.
Yeah, it's people have been people forever. But boy, Chris found the right passage to what I'm assuming describe what he is saying is
About
someone to contribute to what happened to him.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's interesting that he used that verse. She sounds like that.
Yes. And the destruction that followed his interaction with her sounds like what was described. So,
yeah. Interesting.
Now, the second way I believe Nikki manipulated Chris was through his emotions. Despite Nikki and Chris spending nearly every day together while Shanann and the girls were in North Carolina, she told Chris regularly that he should try to work things out with his wife and he should try to salvage his family. In fact, when Chris left to join Shanann and the girls in North Carolina, Nikki told him to use the time to save his marriage. Then she proceeded to call, text, and send him naked, saucy photos the entire time he was there. You see, each time she would tell Chris to choose his family, he inevitably chose her, almost like Nikki was forcing Chris to mentally and emotionally make the decision to choose her over his family again and again and again.
That's some high-level manipulation right there.
Yes.
That's how, I believe CIA studied this. I don't know if they created it, but it is a way that like battered women stay in relationships. You know, they get abused and then there's this extreme comfort right after, and it's just a cycle of the same thing, and it gets in their head. It changes something in their head that like this is normal, and
it's reprogramming.
It is. It's reprogramming. Exactly. And this is a form of that. While it's not abuse, it's actually like it's almost it's the hey, go back to your family. No, stay with me. And just the constant cycle of that and the way she used it. I imagine Chris was pretty damn confused on what to do, if not also not confused, because he was like, oh no, she is the one for me.
She literally would be like, your wife is beautiful. Your family's beautiful. Your daughters are beautiful. You should choose them. And then she would perform sex magic and he would choose her. And in his brain, he would go, She is worth me losing my beautiful wife. She is worth me losing my beautiful family. She's worth me losing my home, everything I've created. And in his mind, it became the absolute only option. And as he's doing this, he's feeding this ego inside of her, because if he's choosing her over all this, then she's better than Shanann. She's better than Shanann and the girls. She's better than Shanann and this beautiful home. And it had to have been the most toxic sort of interaction disguised like a couple falling in love.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is so weird.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, it feeds her ego. It feeds her pride and in a sense of like of why she's alive. Like she has this thing to live for now, and it is Chris, but almost more so, I imagine it's this game that she's winning at. I've
watched this woman for months and months live this amazing, perfect life. And now I'm proving that I'm capable of coming in and destroying all of it. Like on the extreme, that's potentially what could be behind that type of thinking, which when I looked into this type of narcissism, it's not so much like a psychological diagnosis. It's a analysis of behavior and thinking, what could this person's motivations be? And if she's watching Shanann months in advance and she's still willing to come in and try to get this man to choose her over Shanann, part of that has to be, look what I can do. Look at what I can come in and destroy. Look what I can come in and be better than.
Well, in a sense, if all of this is true and this is how she was thinking, we're moving past narcissism and into psychopathic thinking.
Which is malignant narcissism is actually more akin to that type of diagnosis than overt and covert narcissism.
Really?
It's more extreme in that sense. Now, even though she was telling Chris that he should choose his wife and choose his family, in truth, when Chris did choose his family over her, she couldn't handle it. There was an instance when Chris had stayed the night at Nikki's house on July 2nd, and the next morning when he woke up, which I believe was Nikki's birthday, his phone displayed several missed messages and calls from his wife. Knowing he needed to go home and contact his family, he told Nikki that he had to leave. And to this, Nikki got extremely mad. She stated that she thought the two of them were going to be doing something that day. But despite her anger, Chris went home anyway. Now, later that afternoon, Nikki took it upon herself to show up at Chris's house anyway. She said that she was there to help him create a protein plan. But to me, it seems as though she didn't want Chris away for too long, reconnecting with his family without her having the ability to remind him that she potentially could be what he has if he chooses her over them. And that type of behavior was repeated again on July 14th. So on this date, Nikki was with Chris at his house. I guess she was playing with Dieter the dog and wound up going upstairs. And upstairs, she saw pictures and realized just how beautiful Chris's life was. And as she came downstairs, it was clear that she was upset. This upset feeling led to Chris telling her, according to Cheryln Cadle's book, that he and Shanann were actually planning on having another child. And at hearing this, Nikki got angry again. And she fled the home, went outside, and her expectation was that Chris was going to come after her. So instead of leaving, she sat in her truck for 30 minutes, sending text messages to him.
What home is this?
This is the one in Frederick.
Oh,
Saratoga. She was there she was at his home at least twice, possibly more times. She got a little confused when talking to investigators. She rode around in Shanann's car, which...
What?
If you think this man is separated from his wife, you would question, why are we driving her car? Like, you're not with him. Any which way.
Also, you've been in the house where there's family pictures every fucking where, and it says Shanann all over the house. Because I guarantee you, Chris is not doing one goddamn fucking decoration in that house.
Oh my gosh. So we didn't talk about this, but I re-listened to Cheryln Cadle's book. They built that house from scratch. We're going to take a pause from all that is the terrible Nikki. He was only allowed to choose the stonework and the paint color on the outside. He wasn't allowed to make any decisions to the inside, which like metaphorically is he paid for this house that was built that turned into his like metaphorical cage for the rest of his life that he wound up resenting. And he picked the worst color for the outside. So
it's an
she
ugly
shouldn't
ass
have
brown
trusted
house.
him even with that.
Yeah.
Now
I will tell you, as a man in real estate, that's not that uncommon that the woman chooses most, and it's actually a lot of times a very good thing.
Yeah, but he seemed to resent it enough to point it out however many years later when writing a stranger. Any which way, I digress.
But that's where most women I see, they're a little bit more they have more wherewithal to know, like, oh, I have to make him feel like he's part of it,
so he can pick the poop brown color that we paint
but
the
you
outside
don't
of our
leave
house.
the full color. You like, hey, here's our 3 colors to choose from, and the poop brown one is not part of it.
Well, that's what he picked.
I know.
Anyway, so Nikki gets upset.
Got uglier over time.
She storms out because she hears that this man is or was planning to have another child with his wife. And instead of leaving, her expectation is that he comes out and retrieves her. That's how important she is to him. And after 30 minutes, he apparently is able to text her and convince her to calm down and come inside.
He just left her out there for 30 minutes.
And she's probably
keeps
just
peeking out the
fuming.
window,
She's
just like,
fuming. I'm
"Fuck,
just
she's
really
still
upset
there."
right now.
Damn, what do I do?
But she doesn't leave. Like if she's truly
and then
upset,
she sends him a nude, and he's like, "Oh,
sex magic."
come in."
That's what our next shirt. After we make our
Sex
first
magic.
shirt, sex magic,
MAGIK.
with a symbol for the eye. Now, this story is actually going to lead me to what I think is the most compelling detail that I'm presenting this entire time. I think it supports that she manipulated Chris into falling in love with her. And I think it indicates that she is instrumental in placing a seed in his head that his family would have to go if she and he were ever to be happy together. So after hearing about Chris's plan to have another child with Shanann, Nikki told Chris that the reason why she got so upset was that she actually had hoped that she could be the one to give Chris his son. You see, she wanted to have a first with Chris because so many of Chris's firsts were with Shanann. But giving Chris a son could be that first, that special exchange that they could have. And Nikki felt incredibly hurt when she heard that Shanann might be the one to bear Chris's son. Nikki literally was speaking as though it was Shanann, the wife of Chris, who was ruining her, the mistress's happiness, by potentially birthing her husband's son.
Well, I mean, I can already kind of see where this is going, and you did allude to it at the end of the last episode. But there is that saying,
"Bitches be crazy."
Well, that's like the urban twist on it. But I think it proves true time and time again. But that is, hell hath no fury, like a woman scorned.
And I think when that woman is somewhat psychologically unstable, it becomes even worse. So,
well, let's be honest. All you women are a little psychologically unstable.
Here's what I'm going to say. Again, a lot of this comes from Chris's letters to Cheryln.
Sure, we're getting one side again on everything.
However, he talks about Nikki as somebody who presented herself as a woman who got out of an abusive relationship. Yeah. It was so abusive that her mail had to be sent to her dad's house because this man couldn't know where she lived. She had to get rid of social media for a while. And you hear that and you're like, oh my gosh, that's really terrible. Then you think about it in the context of you're dating a married man. You know he's married. You know he has kids. You just found out they want to have another child, and you go and say, but I was supposed to give you your son. And it makes you go, maybe there's something to this woman that is leading to really negative relationship interactions.
At the very least, it's a very high level of selfishness.
Mm-hmm.
At the very least. But I think we're seeing a lot of other things here as far as what you've told us that tells us this is more than just selfishness. We're going into narcissism and beyond,
All right.
in my opinion.
Well, now consider this. After Nikki tells Chris that she wants to be the first woman to give him a son, he decides that he no longer wants the baby Shanann is carrying. And when he visits North Carolina to finish the vacation with his wife and his 2 girls,
so just remind me really quick. He did tell her he no longer wants the baby, but they were both on board. They both wanted a baby, right?
Yes.
Or it was Chris's idea, or
Chris really, really, really wanted a son.
Because he wanted a son.
They both agreed to have a baby, and I think they agreed to have a baby to try to save their marriage because it wasn't in a good spot.
Which most people do. It's
Shanann leaves for vacation.
Not in our own marriage, people.
No.
Come on, let's be real. We've got a perfect marriage.
Shanann leaves for vacation and they both want the baby. Chris even says if Shanann never left, he doesn't think anything would have happened. Okay. That being said, when he meets Shanann and the girls in North Carolina, he gives Shanann OxyContin in the hopes that it will abort their baby.
That's right.
Now, there is phone data that shows Chris had a call with Nikki. That call ended. Then Nikki had a call with a clinic. Then that call ended. Then a second call took place between Nikki and Chris. The transcript of the phone call between Nikki and the clinic shows that Nikki questioned the clinician how much OxyContin would be safe and how much OxyContin could cause a miscarriage. And since Chris never revealed where he got the OxyContin from, the fact that Nikki was taking medication the entire time she was with Chris, and the fact that Nikki had these questions about OxyContin and miscarriages leads me to infer that perhaps Nikki not only planted the seed in Chris's mind, but perhaps he planted the pill in Chris's hand.
Hell yeah, she did. That's not coincidence. That's crazy. Yeah, there's that level. There's that psychotic level.
I told you when I call somebody a certain type of narcissist, I'm going to prove they are that type of narcissist.
Yeah, and phone data will do that. I mean, that is not Chris writing a letter to an author. That's professionals doing their jobs, grabbing data, and then releasing the information. And there'd be no reason that would be false. So there it is.
We're not done.
Oh, geez.
Now, when speaking to investigators, Nikki downplayed her relationship with Chris, but their relationship, in fact, was much more serious. At various points during their affair, she searched for wedding dresses for almost 2 hours and even Googled the phrase, marrying your mistress. The two were even professing their love near the end.
This bitch is crazy.
Well, can I play you? So you heard her voice on the interview, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to play you some clips of voicemail she left for Chris. And if you don't think she was manipulating this man, just listen to the way her voice is different in speaking to him.
Okay.
Hi. It's me. I miss your face. I was just calling to say hi. Call me back. Bye. Hi. It's me.
What the fuck? What?
I don't know, because she doesn't make any of those sounds when cops are talking to her.
Is his mistress a Muppet? What the fuck
or
was
an
that?
elfland creature? I don't know. Sex magic did it to him.
Elfland creature?
I don't
little
know.
Fairy? What the hell?
I don't know.
That was like a child elf in some fantasy movie, like tricking a guy to follow him into the magical portal.
But isn't that exactly what we've been
hell.
saying? That she became something. Sorry.
Tighten this one right here.
It doesn't go any tighter.
Use those muscles.
Okay. She's literally that creature who is luring Chris into her realm of giggles and sex magic.
Into the ever-ending zone or something. Never-ending sex magic. Whatever it is, it starts with either never, ever, never ending,
I don't
never
know.
have sex again magic.
Yeah.
What? Oh, at that.
Yep.
We're definitely going to leave my reactions in there for the video.
Okay.
'Cause
anyway.
it disturbed me. That giggle, it was so weird.
It was super uncomfortable.
Unhuman.
Yes. Well.
Why would you do that? And multiple times. It wasn't even
idea.
just one time and then she thought about it. She's like, God, I sound stupid when I do that. No, she was like, that's it. That's what I have to do. That's going to lure him into my loins is that giggle.
I don't know.
Ooh.
Now, Chris and Nikki were in continual contact even after Chris murdered his family, including, I guess this call would be before, including an almost 2-hour conversation the night before Shanann returned home from her business trip, which is the business trip she took before Chris murdered her. The two might have even been in communication while Chris spoke to investigators. There is a series of calls where it seems like as Chris takes a call on his personal phone with a detective, Nikki at the same time calls into his work phone, indicating that perhaps she was listening in while the detective spoke on speaker. And the reason they think that this was planned out is because leading up to the actual call taking place, this detective calls Chris. It's almost like Chris answers the call and then it's dead air, like he's trying to figure out a way to bring Nikki onto the call. Yep. And then Chris calls the detective back. He answers, dead air, almost like he's trying to get Nikki on. And when they realize Chris is too stupid to get this done, they have Nikki call, listen in, and put the detective on speaker.
I mean, maybe that's what she was actually Googling when she meant three-way. Was how do you do a call three-way?
Except I'm going to tell you what else she included, and that's not what she was looking for. Now,
I'm joking.
I know. I should have let you have your moment.
Thank you for taking that away.
I'm sorry. Now, what I'm making is just an inference. It's speculation from phone records. But if that did occur, then Nikki was much more involved than she wanted anybody to realize. Now, before Nikki spoke with investigators, the very first time, she deleted everything on her phone that could have connected her to Chris Watts. And then she searched, which she should just not be allowed to Google things ever again because it never turns out well for her, a series of questions related to the ability police have in tracking phone data. And sitting in the interview, officers ask her for her phone, and she's hesitant. She's like, I've told you everything. I don't know why I'd need to give you my phone.
Which, for our listeners, if you're ever in that situation, just say, I'd like a lawyer.
She was the one who drove herself.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, if you're stupid enough to get to that point, then lawyer up. And then they have to ask your lawyer for your phone.
Well, whatever Nikki does, it seems to work out for her. So,
yeah, that's true. Because
Nikki actually took her dad with her the first time she spoke with investigators. And this man seemed to play a significant role in controlling the line of questioning. There are even times when Mr. Kessinger tells investigators to stop asking certain questions, and the investigator seemed to comply. And I couldn't find anywhere where this man is like former police. He's like a mechanical engineer or something. But whatever his role was, he had power in that interview.
So he had no law past or history that you could see.
Not that I could find.
Maybe he has a history of satanic worship.
There was something about this man, because
I am kidding people. I'm not saying this dude had anything to do with anything, but it's odd.
It's very strange.
Well, okay. Look, we've covered a lot of cases here. We've watched a lot of cases. We've been alive for a long time. When police have their guy, they can often overlook a lot of things along the way.
Thank you for that segue. Mr. Kessinger also repeated several times phrases around the idea that if Chris confesses, the whole thing ends, which is interestingly exactly what happened. Chris confessed, and any sort of looking into Nikki's role seemed to simply go away because it could potentially complicate Chris's confession. Had they gone, well, wait, maybe there's something else.
Like an accomplice.
Now, there is another interesting thing about Nikki's behavior during her interview. When Chris was interviewed, he subconsciously kept making movements towards his neck. One of the interrogators even noted as he walked out of the room that he would bet Chris strangled Shanann based on those exact movements. Well, wouldn't you know it? Nikki made similar subconscious movements to her neck during the course of her interview. It also seemed like Nikki tried to employ manipulation when speaking to investigators. She would make statements like, I'm trying to help you, but you got to help me in return. And we are on the same team here. And even after Chris confessed and they no longer needed Nikki, she continued to reach out to these agents, asking them, like, do you think I could get into, what is that? Witness protection, and what do you think I should do now? And they were like, we're a little busy, Nikki. And she just seemed to, in my mind, almost figuratively latch onto these men because Chris no longer was her dude. And she was like, pick me up. I don't want to drive to my interview. Which she did. Be like, I would be freaking nervous to be in a car with any sort of agent. And she's like, please pick me up.
Yeah, she's 100%. I keep thinking, like, okay, I'm hearing this info for the first time. I'm obviously going to say things, record it, put it out there. Think about it, what you're going to say with the info you're given. And there's enough here that you don't need the hearsay to show like that she is another kind of selfish, narcissistic type of person. And
well,
which leads you to wonder, like, which is so strange. All right, this is the strangest thing I'm dealing with in my mind, trying to think through all this. Because again, this is the first time I'm hearing any of this. I've heard the Chris Watts story, and I thought I heard it all. But I'm not a sleuth like you, and I have never heard any of this played out this way. What makes it so strange, and trying to process this, there's no way I'm going to get all my thoughts out on this podcast. It'd be too long. But one of my immediate thoughts is just like, this is already such a fucked up, demented case of a person doing something to 4 other people. Mm-hmm. And you're going to throw another person in there that might have something to do with it? Jeez. How?
Well,
my mind just wants to be like, no, there's no way two people could do this.
Now, once Chris had confessed and was arrested, Nikki performed some more telling searches online. She searched the question, did people hate Amber Fry, who was the woman Chris Peterson had an affair with before allegedly or murdering his pregnant wife? She also searched for how much Amber profited financially from the book that she would eventually write.
Oh, shit.
Here's the deal. Several times during her interview, she turned the attention on herself. My name can't get released to the public. How this is going to ruin my life. Let's not spare a thought for Shanann, Nico, Celeste, or Bella. Names she rarely referenced, like she would not refer to them during her interview. And she constantly turned it towards herself. And almost immediately after that part of her life was done, she was like, how can I make money from this? Like, it's so mind-boggling to me.
Oh, yeah. And now knowing she never mentioned or rarely mentioned
she wouldn't
the
say their
others,
names.
That's a bit suspect, too. I mean,
yes.
Look, I don't care who you're dating, how much you love them. If they have the ability to murder their wife and two beautiful little tiny girls and unborn child, your love should turn to disdain for them and love for those that passed away.
And any thought should be
and it should
on
be
them.
and there'd also, I'd imagine, a bit of guilt. Like, I hope I didn't contribute to this at all.
Correct. Now, on August 13th, the morning Chris strangled his wife and smothered his daughters, a neighbor reported seeing a truck parked outside the Watts home. Nikki drove a similar truck. Nikki's
An
phone...
extra truck, because Chris had his truck
it's smaller.
backed in, right?
It's smaller. Nikki's phone pinged off a cell tower in Frederick at 6:16 a.m.
Jeez.
That morning, which it would have done had she maybe been sitting in her truck in front of the Watts' home.
A similar truck to what the neighbor saw.
Correct. After that phone ping, Nikki did not use her phone again, not once, until 2 p.m. that afternoon. In fact, Nikki did not clock into work that day until after 2 p.m. There, in her office, she made a few phone calls, including 2 to her sex magic cult advisor, and then she went home.
Interesting.
Which, I don't know how all jobs work. I know how my job works. I know how most jobs work. But most people are at work for all of Monday. We are not saying that Nikki was there at the scene of the crime that morning. I am simply presenting certain pieces of information and letting you make your own decision. Now, there is a group of people online who believe they see a woman in the camera footage that captured Chris Watts loading his truck the morning of the murders.
From the Ring camera next door?
It's not a Ring next door. It's actual like security camera footage.
Okay.
And I'm going to show you them. They're not stellar, but I feel like we need to acknowledge this, and you can tell me what you think.
All right. There's no audio on these, right?
No, it's just a picture.
All right.
So it's a series of pictures. The first one captures, I'm just going to describe them, and then you can look and give your honest opinion. The first one is a person who you can't see their face because the light is positioned exactly over where their face is. But the people who see this think that it is a female because they see a brown ponytail and breasts. The next one is zoomed in on this, and there's an outline drawing a woman carrying something with a purse on their hip. And the third one is Nikki Kessinger with a very similar purse in her police interview. Honest opinions.
Well, I will say she has, from all the pictures I pulled up, she does have long hair.
Well, take a look.
She does have a figure that
I'm
you
not convinced
recognize breast on.
Either way.
Okay, let me look. I'm going to shut this off and then we'll come back to it.
Okay. So Jason has viewed all the images that people online have presented as evidence that Nikki Kessinger was there. I think I know what he's going to say, but he's got a nice voice, so I'll let him say it.
Well, thank you. I don't see it. I mean, in one picture, and we can throw them up on Instagram.
Or we could link the video where
we could link. Yeah, we'll link the video.
Some lovely
throw
woman
it on Instagram, whatever you want to look at. But we'll show you what I just looked at. I just looked at stills from a video, and I'm guessing was it you that took the stills, or did you pull those stills?
I don't know the difference between took and pull. I watched the video and screenshotted stills for you to look at.
And maybe I'll have to look at the video, but I imagine that's pretty much what the video looks like.
There's not much else.
I mean, they say you could see a ponytail and breasts. The main thing I could see was boots and either shorts or pants tucked into boots. Like waist up, couldn't even tell. It also looked like arms out, not breasts. Maybe some long hair. And then somebody decided to draw something over an image of what they thought was a woman holding a bag, which they called a child.
Yeah.
And it literally looks like it's just a blurry picture that they just drew these outlines on. So I'm not buying it, but at the same time, it intrigues me enough to see if there's something a little bit more clear than what is in those videos. Because obviously, there's times that you see things on social media. It's like a copy of a copy of a copy, and you're not actually seeing it as clear as the first person saw it and showed the video of. And then, it goes down the line. And next thing you know, you're looking at like a 480p, which is
he has to explain it because
a quality, the quality of a video, which is very low quality. 720 was like 2000s, 2005.
Oh, the good old days.
1080 was like 2010. Now we're at, we're above 4K now. So.
Okay. Now, during the early hours after murdering his entire family, while still at Survey 319, the site where he disposed of Shanann, Nico, Bella, and Celeste's bodies, Chris went to his truck to search up the lyrics to a Metallica song called Battery, which seems like a very strange thing to do on a whim. Well, in Cheryln Cadle's book, she presents it as though Nikki was the one who prompted Chris to do this. And here are some of the lyrics. Lashing out the action, returning the reaction, weak and ripped and torn away, hypnotizing power, crushing all that cower. Battery is here to stay, smashing through the boundaries. Lunacy has found me, cannot stop the battery. Pounding out aggression, turns into obsession, cannot kill the battery, cannot kill the family. Battery is found in me. Battery, battery.
Good old Master of Puppets album.
And I don't know, to me, a woman who sends her lover with the instructions to look up these lyrics after he murders his entire family, lyrics that include lunacy has found me, cannot stop the battery, pounding out aggression, turns into obsession, cannot kill the battery, cannot kill the family, battery is found in me, battery, battery, probably has a little more to her story.
Indeed.
She's not just a geologist having a short fling with a man who is supposed to be separated from his wife. But we will never know the extent of her story. Not for sure anyway. Because like a true malignant narcissist, Nikki, skilled in manipulation, got exactly what she wanted in the end. Before anyone could look too closely and investigate her, Chris confessed. And after having got everything she could from his attention and the self-satisfaction from ruining his life and so many lives, she found herself free. Perhaps free to hunt again, to find another seemingly happy family